cold open would start off with Batman racing through the streets of Gotham in pursuit of gangster Tony Zuko. The terrified Zuko would ultimately stumble upon the traveling Haley Circus on the outskirts and would hide from the dark night amongst the guests and performers. When Batman would finally catch up to him within the main tent during a performance by the Flying Graysons attraction, Zuko would have a weapon trained on the suspension cables being utilized by the performers and would threaten his pursuer to allow for his escape, lest he damage the cables mid-act. Thinking quickly, Batman would shunt a batarang into his hand and throw it at Zuko to immobilize him in one fluid motion. But as the gangster would flail in response, he would accidentally follow through with his threat. John and Mary Grayson would tragically fall to their deaths alongside their elder son, Mitch, all before the eyes of the younger son, Dick, who would find himself helpless to prevent it. Batman's face would convey the horror of the event as the bodies colliding with the ground would be heard in the background. After the main credits sequence, Bruce, struggling through the guilt from his role in the deaths of John, Mary, and Mitch Grayson, would be shown conducting a mandatory audit of Wayne Enterprises. An eccentric company researcher named Edward Nygma would excitedly ambush him to attempt to sell to him directly on the proof of concept for an invention that would aid the GCPD in profiling criminals that he would quickly mention his manager, Fred Stickley, is giving him the runaround on. Bruce, shown to be obviously dismissive and uncomfortable by Edward's closeness and hyper-mannerisms, would repeatedly attempt to blow the man off until finally he snaps. As Edward would reel backward, hurt by the rejection of someone he holds in such obvious high regard, Fred Stickley would appear and hurriedly scramble to shuffle Edward off, admonishing him for his inappropriate forwardness with the company's CEO and for breaking chain of command. Edward's face would wordlessly contort in hurt as his eyes would linger on Bruce. He would then angrily glare at both Bruce and Fred as the scene would come to a close. With the guilt becoming overwhelming, Bruce would seek out Dick to convince the young man to stay at his mansion instead of striking it out on his own, and even to accept an all-expenses-paid internship at Wayne Enterprises. While this is all happening, Zuko would be put on trial for his numerous crimes, with Assistant District Attorney Harvey Dent attempting to prosecute him. But during cross-examination, the gangster would pull out a vial of acid he smuggled into the courthouse and toss the contents into Harvey's face, severely wounding him. During the ensuing panic, Zuko would make an escape while Harvey would be hospitalized.